You've been lied to, not once, not by accident, but relentlessly from the moment you took your first breath as a man. You see, the world we live in, the movies we watch, the love songs we hear, the stories we're told, they all sell the same comforting illusion that women are gentle, that their love is pure, that their intentions are noble, that if you just give enough, love enough, stay loyal enough, you'll be rewarded with a fairy tale. But what if I told you that's not how the game really works? Most men don't lose love because they weren't enough. They lose it because they never knew what they were actually up against. Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds to ever explore the human psyche, saw through this illusion over a century ago. He discovered something most men today still refuse to face. Beneath the soft smiles and kind words lies a force far older than culture, far stronger than logic, a force primal, ruthless, and designed by nature itself. And here's the cold truth. You've been playing a game you didn't even know you were in. Have you ever asked yourself, why did she change? Why did the woman who once adored you, who once couldn't get enough of you, suddenly grow distant? Why was your loyalty met with indifference? Why did your vulnerability cost you her respect? You see, this isn't random. It's not just how people are, it's how we're wired. And most men, decent, hardworking men, get chewed up by it. But here's the good news. You can learn to see the patterns. You can learn to defend yourself against the emotional games you were never taught to recognize. And more importantly, you can reclaim the power that's been quietly slipping through your fingers for years. Understand this. What I'm about to share with you is not hatred. It is not bitter. And it damn sure isn't misogyny. It's survival. Because when you finally see the truth about female nature, when you truly understand the forces at play, you no longer walk blindfolded through the battlefield. You walk prepared. You walk with clarity. Furthermore, you walk with strength. And the moment you do, you stop begging for love. You stop chasing validation. And you start living from a place of unshakable power. In this video, you'll learn how to predict female behavior before it hits you where it hurts, how to shield yourself from emotional warfare most men never see coming, how to regain the personal power you've been taught to give away. So, if you're ready to step out of the illusion, if you're ready to see what lies beneath the mask, then stay with me. Because what you'll hear next will change the way you see the world and yourself forever. Let's go deeper. You see, Carl Jung didn't just study the human mind. He ventured into its darkest corners, the places most people are too afraid to look. And what he found about female nature was as unsettling as it was undeniable. Every woman, no matter how gentle, how kind, how loving she appears, carries a hidden force inside her. Jung called it the shadow, an unconscious, primal part of the psyche, one that manipulates not out of malice, but out of necessity. Now think about this. Why is it that so many men, strong, capable men, find themselves blindsided in relationships? Why do you hear stories of women who seemed perfect, devoted, almost angelic, only to flip a switch and become cold, indifferent, even cruel? That's not bad luck. That's not just how people are. That is the shadow at work. You see, women evolved under brutal survival forces. While men were wired to conquer, build, protect, women were wired to navigate male psychology to secure their place in the tribe, to ensure their own survival and that of their offspring. It's not a conscious choice, it's instinct. And here's the first hard truth. Female love is not unconditional. It's a transaction, a negotiation, a biological contract where your strength and utility determine your value. The moment you become less useful, less stable, less strong, you'll watch her attraction wither away like it was never there. And this is where most men fall into what Jung called the trap. Because we, as men, project our own longing for unconditional love onto women, we mistake the performance of affection, of vulnerability, for true depth, But what we're really seeing is a mirror one that reflects back whatever version of herself will keep us invested. When you're strong, she's devoted. Show weakness, and she recoils. Hook inserted. So if your strength draws her in and your softness pushes her away, what is she really in love with? You or the image of power you provide? Now, let's talk tactics. When her needs aren't being met consciously or not, the shadow responds. She withdraws, she goes cold, she uses silence as a weapon, she rewrites the story, paints herself the victim, paints you the villain. And the cruel irony? The more loyal and giving you are, the more power you hand over. Because here's another brutal truth. When you show vulnerability or failure, when you expect compassion, you'll often find contempt instead. Why? Because deep down, her attraction is wired to respond to strength, not weakness. And when you expose that weakness, it signals to her shadow that the contract is breaking. Look, this isn't about blaming women. It's about seeing reality clearly so you can protect yourself. Because if you walk into this game blind hoping for unconditional love, you will be broken, you will bleed, and you will blame yourself for things you never understood. But once you see the shadow for what it is, a survival mechanism, not personal cruelty, you can stop reacting, you can stop chasing, and you can start reclaiming your power. Because the game is real, and it's time you learn the rules. Now let's peel back another layer of the truth. You see, when Carl Jung explored the nature of the feminine psyche, he wasn't just theorizing. He was documenting survival instincts that had been hardwired into human beings for thousands of years. And here's a brutal reality you need to accept. For women, survival will always take precedence over sentiment. Not because they're cruel, not because they're evil, because that's how evolution shaped them. Hypergamy, you've heard the word, but few men truly understand its grip. At its core, hypergamy is simple. A woman is instinctively driven to seek the best possible mate available to her, the strongest, the most capable, the most stable. And that drive doesn't stop once you've won her affection. It continues silently, constantly, testing you, evaluating you, because nature never guaranteed loyalty to weakness. You've probably seen this before, maybe even lived it. In every relationship, attraction is tied to your status, your strength, your stability. Lose any one of those pillars, and you'll feel her respect slipping away. And here's where it gets even more insidious. This isn't conscious. Most women don't sit there calculating how much they respect you. It happens beneath awareness driven by instinct. Jung called this the maternal bargain. A woman unconsciously assesses a man's genetic and social value, then adjusts her loyalty and attraction accordingly. If you rise, she admires you. If you fall, she withdraws it. Harsh? Yes. But pretending otherwise will only leave you weak. Now let's talk about one of the most dangerous patterns of all, the martyr's trap. This is a phenomenon Jung observed again and again in his clinical practice, and I guarantee you've seen it too. It works like this. When a man becomes too stable, too strong, too emotionally grounded, something unsettling happens. The woman's shadow, her unconscious, grows restless. Why? Because at a primal level, her psyche needs proof that you can survive her darkness, that you can handle the emotional chaos life may throw her way. And if life isn't providing that chaos, she will. She may create arguments out of nowhere. She may test your patience. She may destabilize you just to see if you'll crack. And here's the darkest part. The sweetest, most nurturing women often carry the deepest shadows. Because the more a woman relies on projecting goodness outward, the more repression may exist underneath. Now ask yourself, have you ever been in a relationship where it felt like the more solid and dependable you became, the more unpredictable she became? Where your strength didn't bring peace but provoked new storms? That's no accident. That's instinct. Because a woman's shadow demands reassurance that you can handle her worst, not just her best. And if you can't, if you lose composure, beg, or fall apart, you lose her respect. And once respect is gone, love soon follows. So what's the lesson here? Never believe that your role is to rescue, fix, or sacrifice endlessly. Your role is to stand as an unshakable force, a man who is not rattled by the shadow, not baited by the chaos. Because once you master this understanding, you stop falling into the martyr's trap and you start becoming the kind of man no shadow can consume. Here's the truth no one dares to say out loud. The most dangerous women are not evil. They're unconscious. See, most men want to believe that manipulation is intentional, that the woman who played him was cold, calculated, and cruel. But that's the terrifying part. She wasn't. She believed everything she told you. When she said, "I just want honesty," she meant it. When she said, "I'm not angry," while silently punishing you, she wasn't lying. She was split. Because what you were dealing with wasn't just her. It was her shadow. Carl Jung called it the shadow war, the constant battle between the image a woman projects and the primal self she can't fully see or control. And that conflict, that silent war inside her, is what turns your virtues into weapons against you. Let me explain. Have you ever been told to be a good listener, only to be blamed later for not being assertive? Or encouraged to open up emotionally, then watched her pull away when you did? That wasn't a trick. It wasn't a setup. It was instinct colliding with narrative. Her conscious mind may want closeness, but her unconsciousness tests it. Push it. Punish it. Because her shadow isn't interested in what's fair. I'm interested in what survives. This is where most good men get caught in a loop of trying to love a woman who is unknowingly at war with herself. You give more, she respects you less. You stay loyal, she gets restless. You stay calm through the storm, she creates a bigger one just to feel the edge of your strength. That's emotional alchemy, the shadow's most subtle form of warfare. She turns your reliability into a lack of passion, your empathy into weakness, your patience into passivity, and the worst part, she doesn't even realize she's doing it. Most manipulative women don't wake up planning to sabotage their relationships. They believe the scripts running through their minds. They genuinely feel like victims even when they're creating the drama. Because shadow does not act by logic. It acts through instinct. Carl Jung said it best. The shadow operates independently of our will. It is autonomous. It is real. So when you try to reason with her, when you try to fix it, when you appeal to her better nature, you're not speaking to her. You're speaking to the image she wants to believe about herself. And the shadow is still pulling the strings behind her back. You've lived it. That whiplash of being praised one moment and blamed the next. Being her rock and then being her burden. But here's the key insight. You can't win a war she doesn't even know she's fighting. So stop trying to fix her. Understand her. See the shadow for what it is. A force that shapes her choices, rewrites her memories, and weaponizes your best qualities. This doesn't make her a monster. It makes her human flawed, fractured, and fighting a battle she can't name. But if you don't recognize this war, if you walk into it with blind trust and open hands, you will lose yourself. Because love without awareness becomes self-destruction. The only way to survive her shadow is to master your own. So here we are. If you've made it this far, you've already begun to see the world and the nature of women through a new lens. Not the lens sold to you by Hollywood. Not the sweet lies whispered in love songs, but the raw, unfiltered truth Carl Jung revealed a century ago, and that still holds today. And here's the final truth I need you to understand. This knowledge is not meant to make you bitter. It's meant to make you dangerous. Not cruel, not vengeful. Dangerous because a man who sees reality clearly can no longer be controlled by it. You see, once you understand female nature, the shadow, the tests, the emotional alchemy, you stop taking it personally. You stop reacting to it. And the moment you do, you become sovereign. Now, how do you embody this power in your everyday life? Let me give you 3 laws. Follow them, and you will walk through this world as a man no woman and no system can break. Law 1. Become her mirror. The first mistake men make is reacting emotionally when they're tested. When she withdraws, they chase. When she creates chaos, they try to fix it. When she plays the victim, they over-explain and plead their case. Stop. Stop feeding the game. When her shadow strikes, your job is simple. Become the mirror. Still, indifferent, unreachable. When a woman faces a man whose center cannot be shaken, her nature bends around his resolve. She tests harder at first, but when she cannot move you, she respects you. And respect is the foundation of attraction and loyalty. Law 2. Outsource nothing. This is where modern men fail. They give women emotional oxygen. They make her their therapist, their purpose, their moral compass. And the moment you do that, she must suffocate you to survive. Why? Because now your emotional dependence signals weakness, and weakness kills attraction. You must retain your emotional autonomy at all cost. Build a life that feeds you, not one that depends on her approval. Your mission, your brotherhood, your discipline, these are your pillars. She can add to your life, but she must never be a center. Law 3. Weaponize your shadow. This is the most forbidden teaching of all. You've been told to suppress your darkness, your rage, your lust, your fear. But here's the truth. What you suppress will control you. What you integrate will serve you. Channel your rage into discipline, the fire that drives you forward. Transform your lust into creativity, the force that makes you build, conquer, and create. Burn your fear into self-sufficiency, the bedrock that makes you unshakable. Women don't fear nice men. They fear integrated men, men who have met their own shadow and made it an ally. For centuries, this knowledge was reserved for kings, warriors, and rogue philosophers. Men who understood that life is not fair and that those who master themselves rule their fate. But today, this knowledge is no longer hidden. It's here in your hands. The question now is simple. What will you do with it? Because the modern world desperately needs men who cannot be controlled. Not violent men, not cold men, but men who walk with clarity, with strength, and with the quiet, dangerous power of knowing who they are. You've seen the truth. Now live it